Tom, this is very much a developing situation here in New York City. And so what we're looking at is a heavy NYPD response. They called a level 3 mobilization. That's one of the highest in the department. The call immediately came out on the air. I've listened to a radio transmission on their encrypted frequencies detailing an officer, believed to be an officer on a paid detail, that was shot at that moment because of the nature of the shooting and what they saw with the individual armed with a long gun. They were able to, at that point, call in all the heavy weapons teams that were in Manhattan, or at least in this area of Manhattan. That's the NYPD long gun teams. There is one police officer that's been shot. That individual's conditions are unknown at this time. There's been a civilian that's been shot. The condition of that individual is not yet known at this time. The NYPD is in the process, along with the fire department of the city of New York, of evacuating people from that building, getting them outside, getting them away from the building. We don't have a specific floor or location, but we are getting some details from the scene that they, at least some indication that they believe that the individual who's responsible for this is still inside the building. So hopefully they can be able to wrap this up soon. Obviously, there's been a lot of details back and forth, and things have been changing.
Yeah, a lot of information there, Tom. We thank you for bringing that to our viewers. Let's break it down, though. We think there is an active shooter with a long gun, maybe an assault rifle. We don't know. Too early to say from what we understand. Does he shoot the police officer outside or inside the building, or we still don't know? We still don't know that, whether that was a detail officer that was there for security and this individual makes his way up, or this individual was posted at a specific office. There are some major multinational corporations here, Tom, the types of corporations that we would hear about on a day-to-day basis. This is where those companies are located on Park Avenue, as you well know. All I can say is that based on that initial radio transmission that I heard, the NYPD officers that initially responded certainly knew the gravity of the situation, and to call their SRG, which is their strategic response group, developed after the incidents in Europe, the active shooter incidents, to come to this scene as fast as possible. Basically what most police departments would call SWAT. They're just out on the street every day ready to respond. So then I do want to ask you, do we know if the detail officer, and again, I know a lot of this information is just coming in, the detail officer, were they in uniform? Do we have any idea? Or if they were just protecting the building as maybe a side job, or maybe even getting paid by the NYPD at the time?
Yeah, so that's some information that's coming in, and I want to be respectful of the fact that there's a family out there right now, and there's 54,000 members of this police department that are wondering how their loved one is potentially doing. But hopefully we're in a situation where we can bring some more information on that soon. I just don't want to get ahead.
Yeah. Was the police officer, do we know the condition of the police officer?
We don't know the conditions of everybody at the moment. I'm hearing potentially some good news on that, but I want to wait till we get a little bit more information. You know, gunshot wounds, just from my experience and history, sometimes we've heard reports initially that somebody is in very grave condition, only for them to come out of the hospital several days later. We've seen instances where somebody's taken to the hospital. It's not initially believed to be serious, and then obviously, given the nature, it's a gunshot wound. Difficult things can happen. But you're looking at the NYPD doing what they're trained to do, which is not to hang outside the building and wait, but to go in, and you got to really kind of push the fight, as they say. I've been out with them when they've trained on these active shooters. You want to get to the location of the shooting as fast as possible and find a way to at least contain that individual at a bare minimum. And you're looking at the response rate.
Yeah, but you look at this video, Tom, and you see the size of the footprint of these buildings, and trying to scale these buildings floor by floor to find a single shooter in a building that sometimes is the size of the entire block. We're seeing police officers. You can see some K-9 units as well entering this building. Again, this is 52nd Street and Park Avenue in Midtown Manhattan, known as East Midtown here in the city, just blocks from 30 Rock. From what we understand, a police officer has been shot. Tom, do we have any information that a civilian or anybody else was shot in this as well, or is it just a police officer?
There's also a civilian that's been shot. And I want to stress that these are preliminary reports coming from the police department as best as they can. They have not reached all floors of this building. The floor that they're most concerned about, they have not gone through the entire floor yet. So I want to be, cautious of the fact I don't want to get another police officer shot here by describing it. We are streaming, we are live, we are online.
Yeah, we get it.
That's concern number one. Concern number two, of course, is for other individuals that could be located there. So we obviously want to be very clear and as certain as humanly possible as to what floors or what areas were impacted. I can tell you, though, Tom, that obviously this has got them concerned at the highest levels, and we do believe that they have an image of the person that they are looking for at this time, that they have an image of the person going into the building potentially with that gun. gun. And so that's more information that we're waiting to confirm at this point. But I think we're probably they're probably pretty close to identifying at least an image of the person who they've been looking for.
It looks like they've surrounded the entire block, a perimeter of both ambulances, police cars. You talked about the SRG teams as well that are there that carry those large vans. You can see a large police van right here pulling up for emergency situations, a mobile command unit, if you will. They're going to surround this building. They're going to put all the forces that they can there. The police, the NYPD, the largest police force in the world, larger than some armies. They have the manpower here, but they want to make sure they get no one hurt and they get everybody out alive that they can. Right, Tom?
That's exactly right. And that's what they're doing right now. They're going floor by floor. The floors they don't believe that they have a problem with. They're in the process right now of getting those individuals out. They've evacuated a number of people. Just for those individuals' security, I'm not going to say where they're being evacuated to, but they are being evacuated. Cell service is generally good right now in Manhattan, so presumably those individuals are able to contact their loved ones and let them know that they're okay. Look, this is something the NYPD has trained for a very long time, an active shooter incident inside of a high-rise, significantly high up in one of these floors. The ability to move both laterally on that floor and vertically as well is a real challenge. And so this is something that they learned after the Bataclan attack, and as a matter of fact was tabletopped at one of the city's most sensitive sites several years ago, something I was able to witness. So,
and you can see people now, and it's unclear what we're looking at there, but the photographers from our station, WNBC, showing people still in their buildings. Maybe they can't come out. Maybe they're too scared to come out. Maybe they're just watching. You never know what the situation. It's our first time we're seeing those images. I do want to point out to our viewers at home, though, an incident with a long gun in Manhattan would be somewhat strange, because the gun laws here are so strong in the city of New York and the state of New York that incidents like this we don't hear. And that's why when we had the shooting with Luigi Mangione and the CEO of United Health, it was so rare for an act of violence like that to occur in Manhattan and Midtown especially.
Totally, Tom. I mean, if I were to see somebody walking down the street, not a plainclothes police officer or uniformed officer with a long gun, I would know immediately that individual was up to no good. It's just not something that's part of what exists here in New York City. It is wholly illegal. And so, yeah, anytime you see something like that, that would get somebody's attention. And I have a strong sense, at least on some of the preliminary information we're getting on the investigation, that's exactly what happened. A New York City police officer saw somebody with a long gun, clearly not dressed as a police officer, and that was the moment to immediately confront this individual. What we hope at this point is that this incident has stopped. But as we know, unfortunately, far too often from active
And when you
shooters,
say stopped, either they've taken down the shooter or he's in custody, but we don't know that yet.
Or he's in custody, or he's deceased, or any of those things. What we hope is that there's not any other individuals that were shot in the process of him, conducting what he was conducting today. So, again, we're waiting on more information. You're looking at the police officers enter the building. I believe that's the building in question. As we've noted, some of the most high-profile companies in this country.
Do we know any of them? Are they household names? Are they names people would know at home? Are they businesses, big businesses?
Blackstone, the National Football League. Several other major multinational corporations.
So many corporations have their headquarters or have satellite offices here, especially in Midtown Manhattan. It's a place where people come in where they've been for decades doing business, and a lot of big companies are headquartered. It's unclear what the motives are here. We don't have a whole lot. What we know we have reported so far, and what we know is that apparently a gunman with a long gun, possibly an assault rifle, has shot a police officer. It is unclear how that police officer is doing. It was a police officer who was on detail at that building and has shot at least one other person. Tom?
That's correct.
And has shot at least one other person we believe to be a civilian. As you can see from the pictures here, there are police and ambulances that have formed a giant perimeter around East Midtown. This is 52nd Street and Park Avenue. If you know Midtown Manhattan right now, one of the busiest areas of Midtown on the east side, not too far from places like St. Patrick's Cathedral, places like 30 Rockefeller Plaza. A lot of businesses are down there as well, lots of restaurants. Not so much residential, more businesses. Further east you get, you'll start to hit some apartments and condo high-rises, but this is mostly businesses. So there are people right now, we've seen them in their windows, that are likely stuck in their building because it's a little too dangerous to get out right now, or they're curious to see what happens here, because, again, a scene like this, even though it's the biggest city in the world, a scene like this where you have an active shooter in the middle of Midtown Manhattan is very strange. Tom, I know we can see, look at this, we have people coming out of buildings right now, hands up, clearly, just because they want to make sure there is no mistake about where they're going or who they are, and probably very shaken up as they've been barricaded inside their buildings for probably a while now. Do we know when the shooting happened, Tom, around what time?
You know, Tom, I think it was during the initial airing of nightly news, so approximately 6:30 time frame, but give or take, you know, these type of incidences, I don't want to be based on when we first heard it on the radio or when it first happened, but certainly it was within the hour, probably just 45 minutes ago.
Yeah, and then as we see more and more people from nearby buildings or from the building in question come out with their hands raised, these are civilians who maybe were barricaded where they were, told not to move, told to stay in place, are now coming out for the first time with their hands up and running out of the buildings. Again, this is happening in Midtown Manhattan, 52nd Street and Park Avenue here. The details, not a lot coming in right now, but what we know so far, there was an active shooter, shot a civilian, shot a police officer with a long gun, possibly an assault rifle. The motive is still unclear. The building where this happened, as Thomas pointed out, lots of multinational companies are there, big companies like BlackRock, like the NFL, and I'm sure many, many more, because you talk about the size of these buildings. There are several corporations that likely have office space in there. As we get more information, we're going to bring it to you. We're going to take a short break right now. We're going to make some phone calls. On the other end, we'll have new information for you. We hope you're watching Top Story. We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.